Hi, I wanted to take some time to explain how I got to the new work I'm making. I work from a place of intuition. I believe strongly that we should follow our senses and what excites us visually, what means something to us, but really what's resonating. So my work tends to follow a certain subconscious intuition. It's very driven by my own honesty and authenticity and humanity. And that has worked for me. It's worked for me in both, connecting with other people and having the work resonate with them, but also it's helped me to find my own reason for making it and find my own path, my own excitement, my own curiosity, and it feels right, which is the most important thing to me. I mean, I probably could have been painting girls in showers for the rest of my life and done just fine. I've seen artists who do make a career of painting the same thing forever, but I tend to get satisfied is really the right word after a while of painting the same thing, and then I want to explore something else. So I was in that state of wanting to find something else for quite a while, and that was when the lockdown, the pandemic started, and and I was kind of on a roll with the trees and the flowers, and juxtaposing the women through the trees, and that had a resonance, and I was nearing the end of it, and I could tell. And when the lockdown happened, we all kind of were, frazzling to try to figure out the next thing for how we're going to survive. And then my brother was diagnosed with a glioblastoma, which is a very serious brain cancer. Really, it was a huge blow, worse than the lockdown, way worse. I mean, 100 times worse. Pretty much the worst thing that could have happened. And so I went backwards in my work a little bit and started painting emotional paintings back in a context that I knew, which was the shower and the water. And, that was my vocabulary from a long time ago. And I went back to that, and it seemed to make sense too with the pandemic, right? The water droplets and vapor and enclosed glass structures where we were kind of seeing each other always through a barrier, a glass, a screen. And so it made sense. And I was able to make some work that really spoke deeply about processing that information that he was likely going to die from brain cancer. And then I moved out to be near him and help him and take care of him. And we had this beautiful time together, shared everything, and just we were us. I mean, it was the worst time ever, but also probably the most fun that I could imagine we could have had. So it's a strange, again, beautiful, awful experience. I mean, obviously, when you're in this experience, you're not thinking, oh, how is it going to affect my paintings? How is it going to affect my work? You're just in the experience. You're trying to stay maybe a week ahead of symptoms, then maybe a few days ahead of symptoms, and then just a few minutes ahead of symptoms. After he did pass, I painted a few more of those flower people, and it felt like the right thing to do. But I knew something else was underneath, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I stumbled upon a bunch of different ideas that were really, really kind of awful, but I had to do these little experiments, and I was trying to support myself really as best I could to keep myself from falling down a black hole of depression, which is very possible and would be completely understandable. But I wanted to try to avoid that and take care of myself. And I was doing all the right things, all the right things and none of the wrong things. And I still felt awful. I still felt so hopeless. There was just this kind of, wow, so this is it. This is how it is now. Like, it's never going to be as fun. It's never going to be as good. Things are just not going to be as enjoyable from now on. I lost my best friend, the guy who got me the most, the guy that loved me the most. How is that going to work? So I made a big painting, I made a big painting of just that feeling, and I'll show it to you. I think it's on this wall right here. You remember that one? That's really big screaming head. That really expressed the frustration of what I was going through, the agony, the anger. Quite honestly, it was about anger, which is, in my opinion, the most vulnerable a woman in particular can be. Real vulnerability is something you don't want anyone to see. And for me, and I know a lot of women, our anger is something we don't want anybody to see. And so that was what that piece was about. And I guess it, like some other paintings I've made, it unlocked something. And the next thing that happened was I had this thought to read this poem that I had saved about grieving. And it is called Death is Nothing at All. And I'm going to pull it up and actually read it to you. Here we go. It says, it's a poem by Henry Scott Holland, written a very long time ago. He died in 1918. So it goes like this. Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. How shall we laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again? So I read this poem, and I guess I was kind of at my wit's end, and I'm really not one for believing in an afterlife, and neither was he. But I decided to do what the poem said, and coming in, rushing in, like, I don't know, like a big red truck into my brain was this thing that he had told me. I'd watch him on these Zoom calls, and he was almost like holding court, and really soaking up all of this love that was coming at him. So much love coming at him. People knew how serious it was. And he was so happy to talk to everybody and to be with everybody that way and making them laugh and just being his most exuberant self. And I remember we were walking in the parking lot, leaving that hospital and going to my car. And he stopped me. And he grabbed my arm and he just said to me, Alyssa, you have to try this. You have to try this. You can do this. You can feel this way. You have to feel this, and you don't even have to have cancer. You are so loved. You are so loved. You should feel this. You should just let yourself feel it. And I remember thinking, wow, that's a lot of steroids you're on. And I just knew I was going to hold on to that and save it. And I was just amazed that he could feel so good. And glad. Oh my God, so glad that he could feel that way. Facing what he was facing. And after I read that poem, that's what came back to me. So I said, okay, I'll try it. I'll try to just let myself feel that. Just let myself feel all this love that is in my life, or, the appreciation, the goodness, right? And after I did that things started shifting pretty radically. Like, food tasted better. The colors looked brighter. People seemed funnier and more delightful. Life just seemed sweeter all around. And it was around that time that I had met somebody, and this little budding relationship had just become all about pleasure and indulgence and going to great restaurants and eating the best food. And one of the restaurants we went to had this banana cream pie on the menu. And I was like obsessing over it. But by the end of the meal, we were all full and we couldn't possibly get it. So it's like, oh, we'll save it. We'll save it for another time. There's no shortage of time, right? So the next day I was still thinking about it. And my friend had said, why don't you just paint it? And normally when I hear this, I'm kind of like, pfft. But this time I was like in this really open place and I thought, can I just paint something because it's delicious? Because it's pretty to look at, because it's gorgeous and interesting and luxurious. And I'm like, let's go to the market. Let's get a bunch of stuff and mix it all together and put it in sunlight. And I'll take some pictures. And so that's what we did that afternoon. And I started sticking my hands in it. And once you put your hands in it, it really starts to come to life, by the way. And I must have done about 6 or 7 photo shoots with different people and with myself, and starting to see these really interesting moments and passages and colors and reflections. And so I started to make some compositions, and I thought, well, these are abstract paintings, and I'm not an abstract painter. But honestly, I didn't even feel like a painter anymore. I just kind of needed that curiosity again. And there it was. And so one thing led to another, and now I'm kind of, 8 large paintings into this series, and have more in the tank ready to come out. And the response has been so delightful and refreshing and wonderful, and people are reading into these and seeing images and finding things and making meaning out of them, but with a different kind of interaction where they kind of can't wait to tell me what they see and what they find. They're really engaging with them. And I find that to be so much of what I want the paintings to do, so that I don't need to tell you what to feel. You could feel it on your own. And I don't have to press so hard on a certain kind of narrative. And it seems like the paintings hold attention a little bit longer in a way that I find really interesting too. So there's a lot of cool things happening. And at the end of the day, I can't help but know that of all the work I've ever made, my brother Mike would love these the most. These would be his favorite. And it feels right. So I love working this way from a place of real intuition and almost like a wordless kind of perceptual curiosity. These paintings are that way. They are this like pre-verbal sensory experience where you can just enter into them and live in them and find yourself in them and let go of yourself in them. There's definitely a human feel, but there isn't an identity in there. There's a release of the heaviness of our human identity, of our story, of curating something that means something. We can just sit in this like an infant looking around at the world for the first time, trying to make sense of the space around us and just being amazed by the colors. This is where I'm at right now with the work, and I'm sure it's going to change and evolve. I hope it does. And this is another place. So it's been a long time coming. I don't think this is a huge departure for me. I think that it makes a lot of sense considering how I've always worked in the past. And it's it feels right, which is how I know it is right. So I hope you liked that explanation. And I look forward to sharing this work with you. Thank you for listening and watching.